Hey guys! As you know, I've put together a miniature museum. I'm really happy about it, even though it was really frustrating to make. It's just not working! Go check out that video if you haven't already. So, as promised, I'm going to be telling you guys about the pictures that I've put in my museum. But before all of that, I'd like to say a little something. So, we live in a world where everything's chaotic politically, socially, economically, interpersonally. There's the rise of AI, TikTok, um, environmentally as well. We're cooked. It's just every aspect is basically cooked, and every day as we're living, I feel like we're almost surviving, and it's kind of hard for us to really be able to ignore all of the bullshit that's happening in this sick world. I'm 28 years old, and I've been an adult for 10 years of my life. I've experienced a lot of stuff that a lot of people would think are traumatic or well, they are traumatic and bad and negative, but at the same time I feel like we should always have the mindset of seeing every one of these experiences as a lesson. And also, if you're able to find people that support you even through all of that bullshit, we should always be happy that we've got that person in our lives. And usually we know that we have that person after we've experienced certain things. And I'm happy to say that I do have that person or those people. I don't have a lot of friends right now. I've cut off a lot of people in my life as a 28-year-old. I I have dated, men and women. I am not close with my family. I am not planning to get married. I am not planning to have kids. I'm a creative person. I do performances. I am trying to get into music as well. And I'm also making videos. Like, I'm starting to make videos again. And I see a lot of my peers settling down and getting married and having kids and stuff like that because, this is the golden age. They say that you should be doing all these things, especially when you're a woman. People tell you that all the time. There's nothing wrong with doing all of that, by the way, but it's not for me, and it's not for a lot of other women as well. So, today I'd like to do a little reflection of the past 10 years that I've lived, the things that I've experienced, and at the same time, I'd like to tell you guys a little bit more about myself, because the videos that I've been putting out are mostly gaming videos and activity based videos, which I love doing them, but sometimes I feel like a video like this could be, you know, could bring us a little closer. So, I made this miniature museum, right? And the way I chose these pictures to put in my museum is I think about the things that I'm proud of myself for, that I've done, that I've overcome, that I've experienced in the past 10 years. And I basically have them, in a little picture, and I asked the company to print this, and they've printed this whole thing for me, and basically, yeah, I have the pictures in the museum, and I'm gonna tell you about what I'm proud of myself for in the past 10 years. I'm proud of myself So I'm going to start my sentences using I'm proud of myself for. This is a positive affirmation video. So I'm going to try to positively affirm myself. um, okay. So let's look at the picture of the crepe. So this picture shows a crepe, as you can see, or crepes, or in English, I guess it's crepes. I'm proud of myself for having learned French in the past 10 years. I majored in comparative literature and French at university, and I did an exchange, a 1 year exchange in France, and that's how I really learned my French. And I'm very happy to have met these really lovely people in France that really made my stay that much more endurable. Because, to be honest with you, at the beginning of me being in France, I was completely homesick. I just couldn't really fathom the fact that the city that I was staying in, Lyon, was a city. Because I come from Hong Kong, and Hong Kong to me is a city. And we have skyscrapers everywhere. Everything's, cramped and stuff. I was not very used to the way the French people were. Because, for me in Hong Kong, everything was very convenient. Everything was chop, chop, chop. We get things done. But in Lyon, you know, in France, it's different. It's just a different pace, a different vibe. But, meeting these really lovely people in France really did help me get through a lot of the hard times. In this picture, it shows a picnic that I had with two of my friends in France. I'd say a middle-aged couple. They are almost elderly, I'd say. They're 60-something years old. Yeah, it was a really random encounter on the streets, how I met one of them, and a few years later, I came back to France for a year with my partner, and so then we met up and we had a picnic, a wonderful picnic in the south of France in Bandol. We've got homemade crepes, we've got orange juices, I think, and it was just a lovely, lovely evening. And I'm proud of myself for having learned French. I'm proud of myself for having spent 1 year by myself in France and another year with my partner in France. I'm proud of myself for having met actual French people, because you know how hard it is to make friends with French people. I'm very happy about that. Proud of myself for that. I can't wait to go and visit them again. All right, so let's move on to the next picture. So in this picture, it shows me in Second Life. If you don't know what Second Life is, it is a virtual world game. I play that game on YouTube as well, so if you want to go check out those videos, you can. I make outfits. I like making outfits on Second Life, and I love showing them off to you. Okay, so this picture is about me coming out as a bisexual person. So when I was 18 years old, I already knew that I was bisexual because of, when you were in middle school, high school, you have crushes and stuff. So, generally, if you're into men, women, both, anything in between, stuff like that. So I already knew that I was bisexual when I was 18 years old. I was fresh at university. I met a girl at the time, and it was kind of an accident that I sort of came out to my mom at the time. Um, I'm not gonna get too much into it, but it was a troubling time, let's say. But I'm proud of myself for having done that. I also came out to my dad right after I came out to my mom, because my mom didn't take it well at all, and I thought that my dad would take it a little bit, better than my mom, but he didn't either. So that was me when I was 18. But I'm proud of myself for understanding my sexuality, for embracing it, for coming out, even though it was kind of an accident. and also for coming out to all of my friends at the time, supportive friends. I'm proud of myself for going out and meeting different people, and I'm just happy that I had experiences of dating men and women. I'm just happy that I got to experience that in my early 20s. I am also proud of myself for making videos right now about my outfits on Second Life. Right, let's move on to the next picture. This is kind of a blurry picture. I can't really find the original picture. I just downloaded this picture from my Instagram. Follow my Instagram if you haven't. It's ashbomb, ash_bomb_IG. So, ashbombig. I downloaded this picture from my Instagram from like a long time ago, and I loved that filter at the time. I remember there was a friend who told me that, why are you using this filter? Like, I feel so freaking dizzy when I look at your pictures. But, like, I didn't care. Like, this was my filter. I loved it. So this picture shows me in a bar reciting a poem that I wrote. That was, I think, a he for she open mic night. And that was at a bar called Orange Peel. That bar is closed down right now, but I used to love that bar. There was jazz music, poetry nights, and it was really my jam. Um, I was really young at the time, like 19, 18 at the time, but I would go there sometimes with my best friend, and this time actually when I was on stage reciting my poem, I was there alone. And if you guys don't know, I am a very anxious person. I am not diagnosed, but if I were to be diagnosed, I wouldn't be surprised if I had anxiety. Yeah, I was very nervous that night, but I did it. I recited my poem, and I remember after reciting my poem, I scurried down, and I just couldn't stand sitting there for one more second because I felt embarrassed, even though people were very positive about my, I guess, recite my performance, whatever that is, my poetry recital. Yeah, they were very encouraging and supportive, but I was just very nervous and anxious, and so I wanted to leave. And as I was leaving, there were two women, clearly queer women, who told me that they loved my poem. And I was very happy, and I wished that I would stay a little longer, but I was already on my way out, and so I thought it would be embarrassing and awkward if I decided to stay, and so I just left. So I went there, recited my poem, and I left. I have the footage of this. I've never watched it. Not even once. My roommate at the time at university watched it. Um, I've showed it to a few people, but I've never watched it myself. So we could react to this video in the future, maybe. But I'm proud of myself for standing up on that stage and reciting a poem telling everybody that I'm queer. Very proud of myself for that, and I wish I could do that again. I wish I could do that again. All right, next picture. This is kind of a spicy picture, I'd say. I'm on the floor. I did a bit of shibari. I had a rigger that would tie me up, and basically I was a model with shibari and without shibari, a life model with shibari and not with shibari. It was a really fun time, but I also met some people that were kind of creepy. I guess being a woman and being photographed and being very young and naive, even though I didn't think I was naive. You'd think that when older men and women tell you that you are mature for your age, you would actually think that they meant it. You would actually think that it's true. And at the time there were incidents where I would be in a hotel room, and nothing actually bad happened, but you could just feel that they kind of expected something to happen. And it was not once, it was at least twice. I've learned, as a 28-year-old woman, that you don't go to a hotel for photo shoots. You don't meet up with a photographer alone. Try not to, unless you're trying to sleep with them. I was not a professional model or anything like that. I don't have the build for it. I don't have the face for it. I'm not that kind of person. I wouldn't go on a diet for it either. It's just not for me. But I was, a freelance sort of just for fun kind of photography model and shibari model. And I'm proud of myself anyhow. I'm proud of myself for going on these little fun photo shoots that, when I think about them, they are still really cool despite all of the creepy stuff. And I'm proud of myself for being confident enough of my body to be a life model. Because when I was a teenager, I was extremely insecure about my looks. I would have mental breakdowns when I got home because I would compare myself to girls that I saw on transport or whatever. Like, I think that I was too short, too fat, too ugly, and I would like break down all of a sudden talking to my mom, telling her that I felt ugly and stuff like that, but she didn't really take it seriously. Yeah. So I'm proud of myself for being able to be comfortable enough to show myself without any clothes on. And, there were people that would say, you have a bump or something. And, everybody has bumps. Even skinny people have bumps. I have bumps. I'm considered kind of skinny, but I have bumps too. I have a bump. I have a baby bump too. So, especially after you eat, it's normal. And if you don't let that affect you, if one day somebody say that, oh, you look fat today, or you have a bump, and you're not affected, you're grown, like actually mentally grown, and you should be proud of yourself. I'd say that right now I'm still not completely comfortable and happy with how I look, but whatever, like I'm 28 years old, like I'm only going to get older from here. But yeah, I think what I can work on is my own self-esteem and also just loving whatever changes that will happen to me. Aging, wrinkles, white hair, crooked teeth, bumps, tummy fat, all of that stuff. Um, Double chin, all of that stuff. I heard that aging is a blessing, and I agree. Aging is a privilege, and especially in the sick world that we're living in with the amount of wars that's happening in the world right now, we're lucky to be alive. Okay, let's move on to the next picture. So this picture is just words, and that's one of the poems that I wrote recently. It's called Goodbye. I read this out loud at a performance that I did, and that performance was about me and my parents' relationship regarding my bisexuality. And this poem is not only about bisexuality and how they just cannot try to accept it, not even try, especially my mom. She's the worst. Honestly, she's the worst. But this poem is about me pledging to myself that I will keep my distance from my parents, especially my mom. I've been to therapy, and I've talked to my therapist about just horrible experiences that I had at my home. And she told me that, you're actually in an emotionally abusive household. And It was the first time of me hearing that. I was surprised. I was not ready to call my mom an abuser, but she is. She's not aware of it. You might say that she doesn't mean what she says or does, but she is hurting me. And she was hurting me, especially. I'm not living with them anymore, thank goodness. There's a story behind that as well. I was officially kicked out at the age of 22. The more apparent reason for that was because I was officially dating a girl and they couldn't accept it. But I think underneath all of that, there were so many problems painted up until that moment that just weren't solved at all, because both of my parents are very avoidant. And I swear to God, when I wrote this poem, it was, I think, last year, like the middle of last year. I swear to God, as a 26-year-old at the time, I had tried all methods to communicate with them, especially my mother. I tried to be really severe with her, like call her out and whenever I can. I tried to reason with her, like actually sit down and use theories and logic to convince her to make her see why she's not making sense. I've tried the soft methods. I've tried like doing these love language tests with her and organizing events with her, like activities to do with her. I've tried giving her so much empathy. And yet, I just cannot save her. At one point, I realized that the only way I could heal was not to try to change her, but to try to change the way I can be um, in this life. And what that means is that while I've tried so many methods of trying to make our relationship bearable, I realized that the best method to approach this, or the best way, is to protect myself. And the best way to protect myself is to be away from her. So I was kicked out at 22. I lived with my girlfriend at the time for like 2 years. We split up. I met my boyfriend, uh, my current boyfriend. We've been together for 4 years now. And we've been living together, I've been living not at home ever since. And I was always still trying to get their approval, to get their validation, to help them understand different things. But at one point, I was tired of it. And I am proud of myself for saying no to them when I'm literally having a breakdown, knowing that I have to see them. I am proud of myself for keeping my distance from them. I am proud of myself for outing, especially my mother, in front of other family members when it's necessary. I don't want to pretend anymore. You know how ridiculous it was when I was kicked out? I was living by myself at the time, or with my girlfriend at the time, and I had to pretend after a big family gathering that I was going to the bus stop with my parents because they didn't want the others to know that I was not living with them. I went along with it. I was always pretending for them. I was always smiling in pictures when I was dying inside. See, there's a reason why I was emo as shit. And there's a reason why I'm still fucking emo. And why I'm fucking anxious as shit. It's because I was brought up abused, emotionally fucking abused. Nobody fucking cared about how I fucking hated how I looked. Nobody took me seriously. My mother was always saying that I was dramatic, I was emotional. She was constantly gaslighting me, constantly putting me down, constantly invalidating me. Just not going back. And this poem is about that. This poem is about pledging that I will not be a softie again. I will protect myself. I will put myself first. I will distance myself because that is the best thing that I can do for myself. And I need to be able to heal. And to be able to heal, that's the only way to go about it. Right? Okay.